Hello and welcome to But the Damn Point Is. This is Germ Leather, your lovely host, otherwise known as Sweet Sweet Daddy Germ. If you would do me the favor of virtually welcoming my good friend and guest for the day, Mr. Don Ashby. Hello, Don.
Hello there.
Hello. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I realize you have a lot to do, probably at home, what with trying to save the world, using only your mind and everything. Uh, it's pretty impressive stuff. Oh my goodness gracious. Don and I were just discussing the fact that in my comedy notebook, I often just jump all around when I'm writing things down. And as a result, I often lose track of what the hell I'm trying to find. And Don mentioned it was like a Tarantino script, which it very much is. There's a lot of F words. There's a couple N words for some reason. No, I'm just kidding.
There's some violent fantasies.
Yeah, there's some sick shit going on. But yeah, it's wonderful to have you on the show, Don. What are you up to today, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, really a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Sitting at home, spending a lot of time at home. That's good and bad. Actually, there's not much of a real change to my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly. I've been trying to explain that to people. Like, you have to understand that I was so antisocial before that if you didn't come to where I was at, you probably didn't ever see me. Also, the only time I leave the house with any kind of positive enthusiasm is when I would go perform. Otherwise, it's like, all right, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to handle this as quickly as possible so I don't have to interact with any of these maniacs.
right. Staying home. Oh, from the job I hate. Cool. Like it's not
Right,
that bad.
right, exactly, exactly. Being told, you know what, your business isn't essential, and being like, oh, thank God. I got a buddy that does medical transport, and he is constantly busy, um, and it's crazy because his work is actually essential.
Right.
Getting people to their medical appointments. It's typically important stuff like dialysis and chemo and things like that. Really funny stuff I should bring up during the podcast. And for the record, this isn't like a zany podcast. I may add some comedy elements as we go, but for the most part, it's just having a conversation.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah. So, good deal. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of the same. I absolutely understand what you're saying. A lot of just staying home and trying to entertain yourself.
Yeah. I have been reading into things a little bit. Like
Hmm.
for the last couple days, I've been pretty sure one of my cats is upset with me. And I figure out why. I'm like, he
Huh.
seems distant. Like, and it's probably nothing. I'm just seeing things that are there.
Right. Right, exactly. Exactly. Why does my cat seem to covet the TV remote? Does he want to watch something? What's going on? It's strange that he keeps pawing at it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do the same thing to some extent. It's just sitting around and wondering, you know, what would things be like if I was one of these inanimate objects? What if I was my fan, just rotating my head back and forth and blowing all the time? Is that a nice life? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not a great life. I don't know. But good deal. Yeah, staying home from work. Nothing wrong with that. I can't imagine being upset by, well, shit. I guess people need money, but other than that, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Other than that, it's not that bad. But it seems like one side effect I'm seeing because I'll go for like a walk or something,
Hmm.
and often when I go for a walk, one of the things I like about it is like just the peacefulness, like just being by yourself, moving around, just having your thoughts,
Right.
fresh air, all of that breeze. And there's more people outside than ever before, which is odd. Like I go for a walk, and it's just you have to walk by strangers on the sidewalk more often than you used to. I guess
Right.
everybody gets the same idea, but it's kind of ruining it for me. I mean, that's really selfish, but they need to fuck off and stay inside.
Yeah, for crying out loud. Don't take the one thing I have from me. I already lost the decomposing owl. Don't make me lose this too.
Right.
Yeah, Don had a special connection with a decomposing owl that you saw in your smoke breaks, I think.
Yeah, yeah, at work at a nice little secluded place under some pine trees
Mm-hmm.
that I would go to be by myself and just have a cigarette and be with my thoughts.
Sure.
And one day I saw this very young owl, like a baby owl, at my spot. It was dead. Um, and I just, spent this time watching it over the next couple of days. I just smoke and stare at this owl.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this very, I don't know, it was like some sort of weird edifying moment, especially after the subsequent days, watching it slowly decompose,
Mm-hmm.
and watching it be dismantled by the insects. And it was for me like just some metaphor about life and death and the loss of wisdom. And and it was really sad. It felt really deep, profound for some reason. But tranquil, like things are as they should be. This is what it is. And yeah, no, I did have a relationship with that owl for a while. I look forward to visiting it.
Yeah. Not just from a scientific perspective, but because of what it inspired in you, the kind of thoughts it inspired and feelings it inspired.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There was remorse, disgust, and acceptance, and all of these stages kind of tied into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fascinating. What an interesting thing. I remember smoke breaks. I remember wandering off by myself and having a cigarette, and for some reason that was so meditative to just have that in the middle of your most likely shit work day.
Right, right. And I would get angry when if somebody you knew spotted you and they want to come up and talk to you through your whole 10-minute break. Like,
Totally
I'm too
understand.
polite to tell you to fuck off, but
Mhm.
you just took that from me and you don't even know it.
Yeah, you just stole something from me and you think you're being friendly. And the whole time I'm just wishing you would go away, or that like a strong gust of wind would knock you back about 35 feet so that I could just finish my smoke while you're, stunned, hopefully. That's so accurate. Oh, and the same thing would happen on my lunch break. Somebody would come in and be like, I want to talk about work to you. And I'd be like, all right, that's unacceptable. I'd like you to not bring up work. It's bad enough I have to be at work. I don't want to think about it during my few moments of respite.
Right, this is my brief escape.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
dare you? What an accurate thing. Oh, and the whole, I'm much too polite to say anything, but I've been close enough where I've said like, yeah, I'm just eating. That's all I'm doing. Like trying to, it's just please go away. I don't want to
Right,
talk
right.
to
Some people are good at picking up on, those very subtle cues, body language or tone of voice, and other people are just oblivious to it. And it's
you. Right.
just even more frustrating. Because it gets to a
Yeah.
point where then I start resenting them. I get to this place where I start like, well, like you are putting me in a position where I feel like I have to be an asshole
Yeah.
to do it, and I don't like being an asshole. I don't want to, and fuck you for making me feel like I have to in order to.
Yeah. Fuck you for not reading social cues.
Right.
It's like that Bill Hicks bit about him going to a club and someone asking him to dance and him being like, "Oh yeah, I totally want to dance. That's why I'm standing in the darkest corner of the alone in the darkest corner of the club. Is I just can't wait to cut a rug." Yeah, it's the same fucking situation. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. So yeah, it's weird being antisocial, but having like your social places where you're comfortable being social, if it's on your terms.
Right.
At least that's how it is for me. Um, it's something to do with my anxiety. And don't get me wrong, when I force myself to step out of my comfort zone, I typically feel better. Like I typically have a better time than I thought I was gonna have.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know what my deal is. But yeah, there's that bit that talks about you and me being friends, but it could have been a pile of laundry because the picture's blurry. Like basically, like us hanging out is spotting Bigfoot. It's like, holy shit! Did you see Don the other day? Are you sure it was Don? You sure it wasn't just a shadow?
Right.
No, it might have been a shadow. Now that you mention it,
Right.
the conversation was very one-sided.
Nobody's managed to get a good photo. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, it's weird being antisocial. Anyway, pardon me. Goodness gracious sakes alive. Have you been watching anything interesting?
Well, not really. I've decided that I'm not gonna watch the.
Tiger King?
Yes, yes. I'm barely on social media, like at all. But
Yeah,
just anything I do watch, this is keeps coming up, and I'm like, thank God it's this big during a pandemic, because if I had to be around people talking about it nonstop, I'm sure I would lose and and imagine that, like, the comedy shows, just every comic's got their take on it,
right.
and it's just, oh, kill yourself, like.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll be washed out by the time that I have to be around other people again.
I think there's this weird collective delight at watching a train wreck, and that's mostly what it is everybody's kind of obsessed with it. I also think, like you said, the pandemic has a lot to do with it, because during a forced stay inside, you're going to be more likely to give that weird movie or show that you didn't know if you wanted to watch a try. And maybe I've been watching it, and it's absolutely bananas. That's all I'll say about it. It's bananas. But I understand what you're saying. There's a point where you're like, this is the 53rd joke about Tiger King I've seen today. I don't necessarily need to see any more. I'm
Right,
content with that amount.
right. I'm pretty sure I've already watched it vicariously through others.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I've looked at enough memes to think I have a basic idea of the plot. And I know that there's a toothless guy that's always shirtless for some reason. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Yeah. So not bad. Not bad. You haven't been watching much of anything, you're saying?
I mean, not so much like television or movies. I watch stuff on YouTube here and there. But I mean, I watched a movie. I watched a movie not too long ago. I watched that "Color Out of Space" movie, which was fun. It was weird. Um, that based off an H.P. Lovecraft story,
Hmm.
and yeah, that was different. It was a different kind of movie. Haven't seen a movie like that in a while. A lot movie I think I watched before that I remember was I think it's called The Lighthouse.
Hmm.
It was all in black and white. It was like two characters through the entire film. Really twisted, kind of again, like everything's yeah, left up to interpretation on some level.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hmm. Sounds interesting.
yeah.
And where did you find that?
Oh, it was on one of the streaming services, either Netflix or Hulu or something like that.
Right,
Maybe it was
right.
on Amazon.
And what was it called again?
The Lighthouse.
Oh, the Lighthouse.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting. Huh.
Yeah, he's got what is it? William Defoe's in it.
Oh, Willem Dafoe's great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fantastic in it. He has such an expressive, creepy face.
Yes, yes, he does. Even when he's like a good guy, you're like, are you sure you're a good guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a little bit of mischief behind them eyes, a little bit of unstableness.
Right. Yeah, a little bit like he just came down from the mountain after who knows how long.
Right? He's like, so those mushrooms, I ate all of them. And everybody's like, what do you mean all of them? Like, all of them. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, he's a great actor, fascinating guy. Uh, those fucking faces. Um, have you seen? Oh God, where is it in my head? Oh shit, I can't remember what it's called now. Never mind. There's a movie that he's in that's fantastic, and I love it, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called. So that's a tragedy. But he's in that movie, and he right, close enough. Boondock Saints. That's what it is.
Oh
Boondock
yeah, yeah,
Saints.
Boondock Saints,
Okay,
absolutely.
so he plays that amazing FBI agent that comes in and is super dramatic about all these crime scenes. There's even that part where he shoots the gun in the air. He's like, "It was a firefight," and he's like firing his gun in the middle of a fucking residentially street.
Right, right. He has like his weird method or
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. Like Agent Cooper in Twin Peaks, kind of like
Hmm.
he's great, but he's weird, and
Yeah.
he has a very particular way of going about this thing that he's crafted. And
Right. And then it has the scene where he dresses in drag to infiltrate this house full of bad guys, and he like successfully does it, even though it's Willem Dafoe in a red wig and giant sunglasses. So it looks more like the female gremlin from Gremlins 2
right.
than a human being. uh, yeah, shit was ridiculous.
Yeah, they used him in Spider-Man, and they put a freaking
Mask over his
mask on him.
face. Yeah, that was a waste, a true waste.
Yeah, yes.
Because they could have just given him like some sort of goblin mask or goblin face that allowed him to be expressive, and that would have been incredible.
Yeah,
With all of
absolutely.
his like insane smile, oh, that'd be great. You've seen the one GIF that's him with short hair, and he's got this insane smile, and he's slowly like turning towards the camera, or wheeling his eyes towards the camera. Anyway,
I'm,
it's a perfect GIF to like say, oh, something creepy happened, and I like it.
it sounds
Yeah,
haunting.
yeah, it is. It is emotionally disturbing, much like my relationship with my dad. I think there's going to be a one joke about my dad per episode minimum. 'Cause- yeah, might as well throw that in there. And
It'd
you
be
know,
like,
keep. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it'd be like you know, what is it? Just not like a reference point, a recurring.
Right.
It's not even a theme, but
It's just our
it's the tenuous thread that ties all of it together.
right. My listeners will just be like, "Is this? When is it going to happen? This episode? Oh, first 15 minutes? Yeah, classic germ.
Right.
Right.
It'd be like the worst drinking game.
Yeah,
Lots of
exactly.
it.
It's been about 40 minutes, dude. We've only had one shot. This game sucks. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think about this a lot, and when you were on Fuster Cluck Theater, my live comedy game show, uh, way back in January the 31st, you were fantastic, and I had a wonderful time having you on the show. And there was one specific part that is stuck in my head, and I wanted to share it with you because by now you may have forgotten about it. There was the improvise a drinking song to row, row, row your boat, and yours was you can drink Drink when you're happy. You can also drink when you're sad. You can drink way too much and talk about your relationship with your dad. And
Yeah.
that would plays in my head at least once every couple days, and it cracks me up every time because it's so perfect. Oh man, so well done. I can't
Oh, thanks, man.
I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I did forget about that. That's funny.
It was
Oh.
good enough that I remembered it. That's how fucking perfect it is.
Yeah, that was a really fun show. I'm looking forward to seeing the next one when it comes around.
Yeah.
Once all this is uh, back to. Do you think everybody's gonna go like nuts afterwards? Like there's just gonna be but like like a dam broke.
Right, an influx of everybody going out to eat and everybody hanging out with each other and crazy shit like that. Sure,
Yeah,
I believe it.
maybe we'll start getting turnouts at the shows.
That'd be fantastic. I know. Is that sick of us? Because I thought that too. I was just like, well, people will just be starved for entertainment, so maybe they'll come to our shows finally. That'd be neat. That'd be
Right.
fun. Life. So, I wanted to ask you my 20 questions. It's 20 questions that I wrote that are basically designed to help anybody that's listening get to know Don Ashby a bit better. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to know you like reading a book, but I am saying that these questions are meant to allow people to really get an idea of who you are. And that's what I want in the show, is to get to know my friends a little better, as well as eventually strangers and acquaintances, and just people on the street that I accost for no reason.
Okay,
um,
I'm game.
Fantastic. So we already covered how. Actually, I guess I could just ask you now. How are you keeping sane during this quarantine?
Well, again, like not too much has really changed for me. It's actually being at home is kind of a relief. I've been reading, going for walks, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Been cleaning the house a lot.
Oh dear.
Yeah, needed it. Um, I mean, a lot of not really exciting stuff going on, but
Sure.
I picked up. I started playing Super Metroid. That's fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
That sounds fun. Good deal.
yeah, and then staying sane. I mean, this is, I'm not sure there's that much to hang on to, anyways. So.
Right. Yeah. You're like staying sane. I'd like to just be for a little bit.
Right, right,
Just to try it out, like a free trial of sanity.
right. 30 days free.
Yeah. I don't know. 30 days is a bit much. Let's make it 7.
Right,
Just
one
give
week
us
trial.
7 days. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I feel like if that were really a thing, we would probably cancel before the 7 days once we started to look at what passed for sane in our world today. Oh, excuse me. Oh, so, fantastic. What's the most memorable moment so far during this pandemic, if you could think of anything?
most memorable, most memorable moment.
It could be something from your life, it could be something from the news, etc., etc.
Well, I guess like something I'm going to remember as far as memorable
Hmm.
is like how quickly something like this can go down and how ill-equipped the world. Like you think, like, oh my God, we are even just as a country, we are so rich and powerful, and like as a kid, like you think that like the adults are in on something that you
Hmm.
don't know. Like
Hmm.
they know what they're doing, but you reach a certain age where you realize everybody's just winging it.
Yes.
Yeah, and kind of seeing that on a national a national
Yeah,
scale.
right. Our
Like,
leaders just being like, oh, I'll be honest with you, we are not prepared for this. It is not going well.
yeah, and it's a stark contrast to all the things we really are good at, like or that the technology we've developed, and
Mm-hmm.
that was both like space exploration, the military, and all this, and we're capable of doing this stuff that blows your mind. And
Right.
something like this, and even the people in charge, they just are like babbling buffoons,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh boy,
Right.
like if this was more serious, we would really, really be fucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All those movies that are about pandemics, and not a single one is like, we immediately contained the problem.
Right.
So we've seen the story before, but we're just like, that's silly. That's a silly story. We'll
Right.
be just fine. Nothing to worry about.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, and then just to see how like just bafflingly idiotic our leadership is in such a situation, and how like this, it's just it's harrowing. And yeah. It is. So that's something I think I'm gonna have in my memory hat
Hmm.
from here on forward. Is like, no, really, in a lot of ways, everybody's just kind of on their own.
Hmm. Well, what I've learned, and I think a lot of us have learned, whether we realize it or not, uh, about our government and about capitalism in general, is that there's a lot of things that they told us for years would be so impossible to do to help out the regular person. And so long they said, oh well, we can't change how we treat our employees. We can't give them some sort of assistance when all hell breaks loose,
Right.
or the government saying, well, it turns out we can afford to give everybody a shitload of money, and we can also afford to completely ignore their student loan debts. And the idea that these fuckos have, that when all this is over, we're just going to go back to business as usual. Boy, do they have a fucking rude awakening coming.
Oh, yeah, that's so fantastic. I've thought about that too. That's fantastic. About like you see these things that, oh, now we're able to do that, which I believe from their point of view, that action is supposed to be met with gratitude and grace. But
Hmm.
like the bitter part of me is like, well, then you could have done that the whole fucking time.
Yeah. Clearly, the fucking country didn't have to shut down because you did that. So, I think
Yeah,
we're going to be okay.
so my cell phone provider is giving me like a free 10 gigabytes of data or something like that. It's like, wait, but you've been charging, like, I'm not even sure who sets the price for this, but if you're able to do that, then yeah, the way I read it is, you've been gouging me since day one.
Hmm. Exactly. The reality is, this entire time, these things that were impossible were always possible. You just didn't care for the loss of profits.
Right.
Oh, fuck. I think about that and I get so, exactly like you said. It's like, you're going to send us how much money? And this is supposed to make us feel better? When it's obvious you could greatly shift things in favor of the average American, as opposed to only fucking catering to the corporations and the people that already have fucking millions of dollars.
Right. But exactly. So it's illuminating and frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I'm not one of the people that was like, all right. I was one of the people that was like, well, you're damn right. How much more can you give us?
Right.
Yeah. Fucking A. So, what do you think is the most admirable trait in humanity? And you can interpret all these questions pretty much however you want.
The most admirable trait
Correct.
in humanity, like the collective of all humanity. Okay,
Hmm.
boy, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Not because there's so many options um, to
Is
pick
it the
from.
opposite of that?
Yeah.
You're like, let's see, selfish, greedy, paranoid. None of
Right.
these are good.
Cruel. So yeah,
Cruel.
yeah.
Well, fuck it. Let's do the most deplorable trait first, because that'll be easier for you.
Right. Right. The most deplorable trait about the humanity. Let's see. I mean, well, you see that now I run into the other problem where there's so many to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
um,
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
right, right. I mean, it's hard making a list. I just have to put them all against a wall and throw a dart, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we're just. I'm not even sure what the word is for it, but we're shifty, greedy, dangerous. Only to a certain point can you trust any other human being. I mean, we'll just fuck shit up in a minute. You give a man a sharpened stick and he'll slaughter your mom. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where the story ends. You know,
Right.
so it's we're bent on power, control, and we'll find any reason to kill each other. Even we'll make up reasons. We'll make up imaginary friends and kill each other over that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Wow.
we don't. I guess so that by that coin, I guess for the other question, the most admirable thing about humanity. I mean, there are things like kindness does exist out there. There's joy, there's laughter and all of that. But probably the best thing about people is that their lives are temporary.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
Even if you get a really shitty one, it can't be around for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, tell us how you really feel, Don. God, that's such a good answer. Holy shit. Okay. Damn. That's a great answer. All right. Yeah, that was wonderful. So, what makes you, Don Ashby, what makes you angry?
Let's see. I get angry at weird things sometimes. I'll be totally cool with something that's typically supposed to anger an individual, and then like I'll get really, really angry, like I'm just undue outrage about other things. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like on a really basic, simple level, like somebody that we all have to share these public spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has like so little consideration for anybody else, like I'd take a public restroom. Whoever
Mm-hmm.
pisses on the fucking toilet seat deserves to be fucking slaughtered. There needs to be a camera. Like
Mm-hmm.
in that stall,
Right.
there needs to be a camera, and they can just release gas.
Yeah. And just immediately murder them.
Yeah, yeah,
You, ju-
good
you,
riddance.
ju- you just come in and there's pee on the toilet seat and a corpse, and you go, all right. I'll use the next stall. Yeah. Fucking hey, that's a great idea. Or like, uh, oh, you know what really pisses me off is people that fucking ditch dirty diapers in parking lots. Oh, those are the people that need to be fucking have their limbs ripped off, be fucking drawn and quartered.
Oh, absolutely. It's infuriating, especially when you slip on it like a banana.
Oh my god, yep, exactly. I had that happen a few months ago, and was
Oh my God.
if that person could have been right in front of me, oh, I would have fucking beat them until my knuckles were bloody. Oh my god. Yep.
It's hilarious.
Right? But you're right. Imagine a world where if you were a fucking asshole, you were immediately fucking punished for it. Even if it wasn't murder, if it was something as simple as something light, an electrical shock to the testicles, something simple.
like a shock collar for a misbehaving animal.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
I guess yeah. A lot of it's like just being like mean and rude, especially to to anyone, but a perfect stranger. There's that. It's just deplorable behavior.
Yeah. It really, really is.
And then, I've had jobs where I had to, talk to people like this. It's not everyone, but there's a lot of them out there, and it really gives you a soul-sinking feeling for the state of humanity and people.
Right.
Like,
right,
wow, people are shit.
right. I used to work for a medical insurance company, and it rhymes with United Healthcare. Uh, and I used to work I used to work for them, and we were trained to be as compassionate as possible, so I'll give the company that. But the people that we talked to oftentimes treated us like hot garbage, like it was us saying, no, this is not covered, or it was us saying, yeah, you owe that amount. uh, I had a guy one time, fuck, he asked me if I could do something that there was no way I could do. I was like a first level call center person at that point. Um, so he asked me for something ridiculous, like, can you get this bill waived? And I said no, and he said, you useless piece of shit. And I was just like, good fucking lord, sir. I've been nothing but polite to you. I can't imagine treating another human being, especially a stranger, that way.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, he said, you worthless piece of shit. And I said, sir, I don't have to take that kind of language. And he was like, fuck you. And I hung up. I just hung up on his ass, which you weren't supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. They have to hang up
Hmm.
first.
Yeah, they can say whatever they want to you because you're just a piece of meat for them to yell at, as long as
Right.
they pay those dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're just seeing that or hearing that and being involved with that is just kind of, like I said, it's holding up a mirror to the people, the culture, and the way people behave, and it's like a really ugly reflection.
Hmm. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to like people, don't work in anything to do with customer service, is
Right.
what it boils down to.
Right.
Or as I call them, customer servants, because that's how it is. Oh, let me kiss your ass some more while you talk about how incompetent I am. Yeah. Yep. Humans are idiots. Anyway, uh, now that we've talked about that, what gives you hope? And it can be in general, it can be as abstract a notion as you want it to be.
That, I don't know. I mean, we both worked in comedy. I think like humor is one of the most hopeful things we have.
Hmm.
Like, it's something that, yeah, can bring people together, even though there's so many differences and so forth. And yeah, if anything, it's like a brief, like free natural chemical release that a brain can give us to like make us feel comforted or uh, less afraid, more
Hmm.
united, interconnected, all of that, which is something that we often need to be reminded of, and just to be able to get released from everything else that's constantly we're surrounded with or weighing down on us, even just for a moment. That's hopeful that you know. No, like seeing your life and like on a grand scale of things, like am I enjoying this more than I am not enjoying this?
Hmm.
To see that there's a glimpse to the other side where like this is really fun. I'm having a good time right now,
Hmm.
and that's almost necessary, I think, in order to tolerate the rest of the bullshit.
Absolutely. We have to build our own temples,
Yeah.
essentially, and then keep them sacred. So recognize what actually makes life better for you and hold on to it.
Right, right, and do take notice of it. Appreciate it when it's
Hmm.
there.
Hmm. Fantastic. I'm glad you brought up humor a little bit. What makes you laugh?
Oh, that's
I know it's a broad question.
that's a really,
Believe
yeah.
me.
Yes. I mean everything from the complete absurd to run of the mill funny is still funny. I mean, immature humor is still funny on a level if it's done the right way. I mean,
Hmm.
a fucking dick joke is still hilarious.
Right.
Like, like, and then like I really like laughing into the void too. Like, just I really like. I'm not such a fan of gross humor, but I really like dark humor.
Hmm.
Um, because again, it's being able to take something that's horrific or terrible and be able to disarm it for a moment, just laugh at it.
Right. Fantastic. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that, and don't understand that about comedians specifically. I'm sure, regular folk that aren't comics have their own versions of that as well, but the fact that we take often incredibly dark subjects and poke it with a stick and make fun of it and try to make it less, at least for that one moment.
Right.
And
Yeah.
people don't see that.
Well, absolutely. Those same people, I think, would be appalled if they were, say, you know, out on the patio at a show where the comics are just by themselves, hanging out, riffing with each other,
Hmm.
just to hear where, like, the topics of conversation, what they'll delve into.
Right.
It'd just be that, fucking awestruck horror. Just how could you ever think that's funny?
Hmm.
Right.
Oh, okay. I want to tell you one of my favorite. It's a terrible joke. I want to warn our listeners. This is a terrible joke, and I in no way condone what it implies. But this joke makes me laugh, so I'm going to tell it. Uh, a pedophile and a child are walking through the forest at night. The pedophile turns to the child and says, "You think this is scary? I got to walk out of here alone." God, it's so awful. It's so awful, but fuck, do I love that joke. Oh my god. And it's not mine. I have no idea who wrote it, but holy shit, is it funny.
Yeah, that's a great joke.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, bringing about, why do we joke about stuff that's taboo? Because we're the kids that in school were in the back of the class making jokes. We're the kids that, wanted to be challenging of concepts and of ideals that we didn't stand behind, etc., etc.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And there's an art to a joke, because like that joke you just told me, for example, like nothing about that joke is condoning such a horrible act or a bad thing like that to happen to someone.
Hmm.
That's not the point of the freaking joke.
Hmm.
You know. But again, there'll be people that just don't see the perspective there, and they'll be, just outraged that, something like that's never funny. Yeah, well, no, it is. That was funny.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Guess what? Dark and deplorable things can be funny. It doesn't mean that we're saying it's okay and it's good.
Right.
It just means that we thought of something that was too funny to let your feelings stop us from making a joke about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's this thing I've been thinking in my head so much. When somebody wants to give you shit about a joke that you made, I want to say from now on, guess what? This isn't for you. I know you want everything to be for you, but that's not how life is, and this isn't for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, you don't have to like it.
Other stuff is for you. That's fine, but this isn't for you, so stay the fuck out of it.
Right.
If you have nothing but negative criticism that is unfounded and comes from a place that doesn't understand what we do, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it, because I've heard it too many times.
Well, absolutely. They absolutely are entitled to their right to be offended.
Hmm.
But I'm entitled to my right to not give a shit.
I'm also entitled to my right to offend you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who
I
said it?
have the right to do that.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what world do you think you're living in, where you can walk around and never be?
We're all supposed to carry a checklist of things that we're allowed to discuss in your presence.
Right.
Fuck you. Oh, the arrogance. Just don't care for it. I like how we were talking about hope, but it still steered into us talking about hating humanity.
Right. Right.
It's fantastic. What makes you... I already asked you what makes you laugh, huh? Let's see. What makes you cry, Don Ashby?
Oh, everything.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm good at that.
Right. You got it down?
God. I mean, A TV commercial can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Right.
put it like a Pixar film? Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, right? Pixar films are like, this is fun and all this. Oh, death and things.
Right.
Oops. Oopsies. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, yeah. Or like if I'm in the right emotional state, I'll get like moody at times, and just like seeing something that like sitting by myself and watching leaves fall off a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ah, like,
Uh,
so, at certain times that's just a hair trigger sometimes.
right. The
Yeah,
temporary, the temporary, existence that we all
right.
have. And everybody's like, why do you get sad around trees, Don? You're like, you don't? Come on. Oh my God. Ah, shit. Well, that's a good answer. Jesse Clark gave a very similar answer, and I did too. Um, if I'm invested in a story and something really intense and emotional happens, I will get choked up just about every time. And I never used to be that way when I was a kid. I was one of the kids that, like, when we read Where the Red Fern Grows, and it was like the dog was dying or whatever, the whole class was like weeping in grade school, and I was like, why is everybody weeping? It's just a book. I mean, I get that it's sad, but it's just a book. And then fast forward to 30-plus-year-old German, he's like, oh my God, did you see that? Rocky he was yelling for his woman. And don't get me wrong, Rocky is a masterpiece, and I will stand behind getting emotional watching Rocky forever, because it's such a good flick. Um, if you haven't seen it since you became an adult, watch it, because it's fucking Stallone's best acting. And I know what you're thinking, Stallone and acting? That doesn't make sense. But trust me, he's dynamite in it.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you bring up like the younger than older. It's like it's kind of like one of those bits I was doing about like the difference between a child's cry and an adult's cry.
I've been thinking about that lately, but continue.
Yeah, yeah. How a child they'll cry at the drop of a hat sometimes, but those tears are from like immediate present pain
Hmm.
that's usually easily identifiable. We're like
Yeah.
when adults get to the point of crying, like that cry, it could be whatever triggered it. It doesn't matter, but because the
Hmm.
origin of that cry is really prolonged spiritual suffering.
Right.
There's a drastic
Right.
difference.
It is a series of constant agonies and anxieties that leads to that. It's not I stubbed my toe.
Right.
And I agree with you. Wouldn't it be great to just turn a switch and be able to go back to that and just fucking let yourself weep constantly and not worry. Wait a minute, that's just how it is. That's how it is. Just weeping constantly. Shit. That's interesting. I think I'm going to get that answer from a lot of comedians. I really do. Uh, so here we go. We're going to get into some lighter stuff for a little bit here, but what's your favorite word or phrase and why?
My favorite word or phrase. Oh boy.
And it can just be one of your favorites, obviously. I don't want you to feel like you have to, numerize everything all of a sudden. Is numerize a word? Holy shit. Anyway,
It should be. I like it.
I like it too, but anyway, go on. That's what my brain spat out.
I don't know. Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about like language and phrases. It's really fun to explore it.
Hmm.
Um, Favorite word or phrase? I like the phrase memory hole or the
Oh,
expression memory hole.
okay.
Like the idea that that's, even as a collective, like everybody has like a pretty short goddamn memory,
Hmm.
and things do. It is like it just goes into a hole, and eventually it gets buried.
Right.
Like, and maybe that's a survival thing. Like if we really had the same emotional resonance to any memory or event that we had during the act, maybe we're supposed to forget things.
Hmm.
where it's like evolutionarily beneficial. Because it'd just be a fucking wreck if everyone remembered everything. That sounds horrible.
Doesn't it sound horrible?
Yeah. So I like that as an idea, as a phrase. Yeah.
Yes.
But then I'll also like take a phrase and just attack them because I get angry with them. Because also sometimes we're just saying stuff and it sounds like we've been indoctrinated into saying it. We don't even know what the hell we're saying. Like,
go ahead.
Like okay, like we say okay. It's apparently it stands for something. It's an abbreviation. O and K. It must be Latin. I don't know what it means. But nobody does. That's what it you know. There's stuff that just doesn't make enough sense to be warranted to be used. I have that bit about the expression sticking out like a sore thumb, and it's just. But it could be one of my favorites because I like getting angry about something like that. I have so much fun just raging against something that's so unworth it.
My favorite part is like, and what really, I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize, but what I really noticed is how much it stuck out. And you're fucking holding up the mic stand. Oh my God, yeah.
Right, it's truly notable. It's noteworthy there.
Because you take that expression, and I think the first time or two you use it, the audience is like, yeah, it sticks out like a sore thumb. But then you dissect it to the point that you've said it so many times that we're all like, yeah, what the fuck is that about? It's like you turn an entire crowd against a phrase.
Yeah. I need you to see how stupid this is.
Right.
Let me break it down for you.
Yes. Please let me validate my ramblings.
Yes.
That's how I feel. God. Tell me this makes sense to you so that I don't have to stay awake any later. Shit. Oh, that was good. Let's see. More favorites. Let's talk about your favorite movie, if you have one, and why.
Okay. All right. So, I don't know. I have a lot of movies. Let's see. If I have a serious answer, and then I guess a more humorous answer that will come back around to, I suppose. One of my favorite movies, and has been for a long time, and it may just be nostalgia, the age I was when I first saw it, but I've watched it over and over. This Trainspotting, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's dark, it's funny, it's colorful. It's got a fun soundtrack.
It's full of interesting characters.
Yeah.
That stay interesting the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well acted, really interesting characters. The characters are all kind of like somebody that you kind of know.
Yeah, you got Ewan McGregor there. You got so many great actors. I can't remember one of their names now, but a very great actor. Have you seen the movie Ravenous? Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I have not seen it.
Okay, well, this same actor, whose name I can't remember, which is tragic, is in that movie. This is just going to be me describing movies that I can't explain to anyone. That's all this podcast is going to be. Anyway, he's in that movie, and what it's about is it's sometime in the freaking 1800s in the United States, and these people get into this. You know what? I don't remember the movie enough, but let me just fast forward. It's about cannibalism, and this main actor guy ends up basically becoming a cannibal and eating the shit out of people. Not eating the shit out of people, but eating people with gusto. All right.
Right.
I might cut all this.
You know what this reminds me of is like back in the day of video stores. When like somebody walks in and they don't remember the movie, so they try to describe it vaguely to the video store clerk.
Yes.
You know that movie? It had that one guy from that one movie.
Right. And nobody knows what I'm talking about.
It's like
But
going to a
anyway,
bookstore and being like, "I'm looking for a book. I think it was blue."
right. Come on, no, it's blue. It's got like a whitish. The pages are like a tannish white. All right, that doesn't help us. So the actor that I'm talking about is the guy that plays Begbie.
Yes. Okay. No, I may have seen that. That movie was from a bit ago.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an old movie. It's from 2000 something, but before the tens and onward.
Oh yeah. Was there an idea in that movie like that cannibalism makes you go insane?
Right, right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's in my memory hole. It's vague though.
Yeah, I can't remember much more about it, but I really wanted to say the name of the actor, and I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic. He's also in 28 Weeks Later, the sequel to 28 Days Later. Uh,
Yeah, and I think it what was it? Plunkett McCain, I think was another might have been another one he was in. Maybe not. Maybe that was the guy that played Sick Boy.
could be.
Yeah. Yeah, the 28 days, 28 weeks later, those are both good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, a buddy of mine named Kyroon went to see this second one with me in the theater, and about a third of the way in, he had a fucking massive panic attack and had to leave. Like it was too intense. It triggered something in him. Poor guy. So that movie is intense, though. Both of them are.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
That might have been the same director as Trainspotting.
May have been.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me too much, given that it takes place in. I think it all takes place in London. At least it starts there. Let's see here. What is your favorite book and why?
Let's see. Okay, so I got two answers for that.
Okay.
All right. So one is a book called Haunted.
Hmm.
It's by the author Chuck Palahniuk. I
Hmm.
think that's how you pronounce his last name.
Well done.
Yeah, yeah. It's um, everybody would know him from the author of Fight Club,
Fight Club, sure.
right? But it's Haunted.
Is he
It's
the writer of Choke?
yes, which I
Okay.
also really enjoyed Choke too.
I think there's a movie based on it that recently came out on one of the streaming services.
Yeah, yeah, starring Sam Rockwell and Angelica
Right.
Houston.
Oh, wow. That's got to
Yeah,
be good.
yeah, it's a good film too.
Nice. But please
Uh,
continue. Sorry about that.
oh no, no worries. Yeah, Haunted. It's um, a story about these writers that get isolated. They join like a writing workshop in this isolated location, and each of these writers, they're all chasing the same kind of thing, like fame and recognition on some level. They're
Hmm.
all very disturbed. They have these backstories that are just really messed up. There's a particular scene in the book. I don't know if there could be a scene in a book, but
No, I know what you're talking about. That's a better way to frame it than anything I can think of. But go ahead.
there's a scene in this book where this one character, um, as a younger man, his folks had a swimming pool, um, and he enjoyed masturbating in the swimming pool.
Okay.
But in particular, he liked diving down to the bottom of the swimming pool and finding one of the jets that sucks the water out on the bottom and sitting down on top of it with his tiny hole while he masturbated. He called it like making pearls or something because they float up in the water.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And on one occasion, he's feels something as well as he feels his rectum like prolapse. His
Oh,
lower
Jesus.
intestinal tract starts getting sucked into the
Oh, my God.
yeah into the vent. So he's trying to panic because he's running out of breath as well.
Oh, my God.
And as he starts trying to get up to the surface, it just continues. So there's this rope of intestinal
Oh, my God.
tubing, like basically anchoring him down. That's been pulled out of him,
Holy shit.
and it's to the point of life or death. So he has to he chooses through his own intestine there, And the intestine's a little translucent, so he can see what's in there. There's still like he could see kernels of corn and stuff that while he's gnawing through it.
Mm-hmm.
And manages to, and gets back up to the surface, and spends the rest of his life with a shortened intestinal tract, which is something that you have to live with. There's some dietary changes, I would assume, but that particular scene is just so like well written, really graphic. You just see it happening in your mind.
Good God.
And it's like there's a life or death dramatic tension situation, but there's also the sheer horror of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it has its basis and like the idea of like perversion is sinful, and this is the penance you pay for it, and like all these really the ideas that end up getting this guy really messed up in the head afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Man, so you sure you don't want to go back to what makes you laugh and change your answer, Don?
Oh, all right. So that's probably the best book. It's really popular. That's the dictionary. That's one of my favorites. You wouldn't believe how often I think just in daily conversation I refer back to things in that book. Like, it's full of really. I mean, you really take a lot away from that book. It's something that you find yourself using all the time. So it's It's
I cannot hear you, Don. Shit. But I bet you can hear me. This happened last time too. Yes, you were explaining how influential the dictionary has been in your life.
Right. Yeah, and it's a book you find yourself. You keep coming back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
and also that book that you described, Haunted, is horrifying. At least that part is horrifying.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
One of the most horrifying things I've ever heard of. Stephen King can't even compare to that shit. It's out of control. Anyways, what is your favorite song and why?
Let me see. Okay, I got two answers for that, I suppose. I suppose one would be, how do you pronounce that? Isla de Encanta. It's a song by the Pixies. It's real fun, real fast. It really stood out. Like I was fortunate enough to see the band about a year ago, maybe, live in Reno, and they were just astounded. But that song, just the energy behind it was so fun. And I like that. I have no idea what they're saying. It's in Spanish. I don't care. I don't need to know unless I don't know. Maybe it's something deplorable, but but yeah, it rocks. It rocks. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite song. There's so many bajillion songs out there. I've thought about I don't always necessarily think that you'll see that people bring up comics to music at shows, which I got mixed feelings about because I don't think it's really necessary, and it's such a brash like change of focus for the audience and everything. And then like, all right, loud music or whatever. Okay, now shut up and focus on what was going on 5 seconds ago. Right. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really great song. Really great band. I'm really grateful that I got to see them live. Probably first and only time in my life that'll happen. And yeah, kicking tune. Let's see, another favorite song of mine would be the Alphabet song. Yeah, it's really memorable. I know it's kind of played out. It's kind of like I don't want to be a hipster though. I don't care how popular it is.
It's very popular with the younger crowd too.
Right. It's memorable. I like the part where it's dun, 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 and then when you get to LMNOP, like when it goes double time. That's like the the thrilling part. It's a little risque, but they put it in there anyways.
People say that karaoke is supposed to be, they just want you to enjoy yourself, not worry about how good of a singer you are, but every time I try to do the alphabet song, they tell me to get off the stage.
Right.
Right?
I'm gonna play one everybody knows. It's and this is a classic.
Dude, that's so funny. I
It,
wish I had the balls to go do that. That's so fucking funny.
I find it still referring back to it in my adult life too. I'm doing it in my head, especially when I'm using the dictionary. It's really useful for that when you're trying to.
Right.
It's really useful to figure out what letters are where.
It was smart of them to go by that song.
Right, right. It's especially Twinkle Twinkle Little
Yeah.
Star, with the melody there. But yeah, it was a good move for the dictionary people to, they were probably big fans of the alphabet too.
Yeah. Must have been. Oh, shit. You're such a delight.
Oh, and so in that con dictionary and alphabet, I have to say, going back to favorite movie, probably Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. It kind of ties all those together, and it is a great film.
Yeah. No, that is a genuinely great movie. I haven't seen it in years and years and years, though.
Yeah, you don't see them address that much in films too, because they do talk about it. Like a part of the film is isolation due to language barriers, which is like a more realistic take than what Hollywood usually throws at you. I mean,
Right.
Star Wars, everybody speaking English for some reason. Like, it's not even addressed.
It's actually called Galaxy Common, so it just happens to be English for us. Because we speak Galaxy Common too. God damn it. It's like you don't listen, Don. Anyway. I agree, though. That is very, very beneficial. And what a coincidence that everybody in the alien universe seems to speak our language.
Right, right. It's really easy for the writers.
That's good. All right. So let's get back to some interesting stuff about you. What were your folks like growing up?
They were like, I don't know, in their 30s. When I was born, they were, you know, they were great people, a little old-fashioned. Um, Anybody that they fit in well, I guess, for their time period. They're kind of a reflection of their time. The early 40s is when they were born. So, it's they were kind of people that like living in isolated places, small towns. They raised me up in Alaska, out in the sticks. And, after that, they decided to go live in another small town out near Death Valley. And that's kind of their jam. I don't think it's the weather. I think it's just the isolation. um, mom was really gifted with the arts. She was a painter, very into creating things, visual things and things like with her hands, so ceramics, all of that. Very talented in that regard. My father was born in Mississippi and raised in Texas. He's more of a, good old Southern boy, and kind of the kind of guy that Archie Bunker and John Wayne were, role models for, I suppose. What you really stuck to. Yeah, they're both, average middle class white Americans, and they were good folks. They still are, but I was surprised. They turned out, as I got older, to become a little more progressive in their thinking. Which is surprising. Still not all. There's still a ways to go, but you get to a certain point where there's not going to be a lot more, profound changes of character, or worldview, or personal identity.
Right.
But yeah, I love them both very much, and mom's gone now, but I still get to talk to my dad here on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And with this pandemic thing, man, we talk more than ever. Oh my
Right.
goodness, he's again isolated. He's living by himself on the top of a mountain in Texas, and so we're talking like every day. He calls me,
Wow.
and yeah, I think he expects me to call him after this.
You poor bastard.
Yeah,
90-minute
yeah.
convo with me, and then who knows how long with your dad.
Yeah. He likes to go for an hour at a time. Which,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so does my girlfriend, but you get what you get. Fucking A. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. And now, the other side of that coin, what were you like as a kid?
Oh, they didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, they really didn't. I mean, like any child's gonna have some things in common with their folks, but there's gonna be definitely some differences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we kind of shared a sense of humor to a point, but only to a point. There was humor-wise, there's like some dark stuff or some really absurd stuff that just they didn't know what, they just thought I was crazy. Like I was probably I think I was the first one in my family, and even going back in their family to like end up going to college. Going to college was something I wanted to do. As on my dad's side, I was one of the first ones to not join a branch of the military.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I just once I kind of developed my own worldview is quite different from theirs, which is fine. That's good. But yeah, I'm sure it was a handful. And they did the best they could. I'm certain of that.
Well, honestly, that's all you can ask for sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Right on. Right on. Thank you again for sharing that with us.
No, absolutely.
All right. What about yourself are you most proud of, Don?
Boy, you see, we're supposed to be proud of, in my mind, of like an achievement or an accomplishment. Some people are like, when they speak, I'm proud of my blue eyes. It's like that's not something you did. Right.
Also, it's
Right.
super common.
Right. Yeah. What am I proud of? That's tough.
Yeah.
I don't put myself in that headspace that much.
Right.
Um,
A positive about yourself headspace.
right. I guess I was proud of myself for finishing my degree. It was really hard. There was a point where I didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but I worked my ass off and kept pursuing it, and eventually was able to get there. And that was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears kind of thing went into that. So I feel like that's something I can take pride in. I got my degree in physics, and a minor in mathematics, and
Wow.
that's something. Also, like pursuing comedy, like getting up the nerve to do something that I kind of always loved and wanted to do, and then sticking with it and just getting more and more reward out of it. I take pride in the perseverance and just being able to getting to the point where even though it was really scary at first, taking the plunge.
Yeah. Wow. What an what a crazy thing to commit to and then actually follow through with.
Right,
I'm
right.
sh-
Especially like at the beginning, because yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of reward in it, but there's a lot of punishment. Oh my God, it
hmm
can be brutal.
hmm Wow. Well, I'm proud of you too, Don. I think you might be one of the few of us that actually has some sort of degree. I could be wrong. I know Jesse does as well, and uh, but beyond that, I have no idea. Either way, well done, dude. That's rad.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. So, speaking of comedy, how has performing? And actually, let's change that. How has comedy in general changed your life? You can have it be about being on stage or about just how comedy itself has affected you, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, let's see. Going into that, there's it changes your kind of changes your life and in the sense of the way you look at things. It kind of gets you a comedy brain,
hmm
and that's where you kind of everything that you, even in your past or present or even future, you're kind of looking at things with a perspective of what's funny about this.
Right.
How do I turn it on its head? How do I think around corners
hmm
about it? Something that is yeah, again, like the ability to take something that's tragic and just be able to invert that.
hmm
That's that, and like learning how to take life a little less seriously in some aspects that is something I think that rubs off on you for better or worse.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point. That it comedy either teaches you how or accentuates your ability to look at life from a different angle, and
right.
that in itself teaches you how to get through confusing or difficult or strange times. um, I know that for me, and probably for a lot of us, if not all of us, every time something really odd happens in my life, all I can think is I can't wait to talk about this on stage.
Right.
I just can't
You,
wait.
yeah, exactly. Start already at the back of your mind, seeing how you're going to work it out into
hmm
something that can be discussed in the stage format.
hmm
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Also finding that that there's actually a lot of kindred spirits out there in a lot of regards where otherwise you could have maybe felt a little more alone.
Right.
So,
Right.
you got to meet a lot of other interesting, hilarious people, and
Right.
yeah. And so I mean, in a way, like it can. It's life changing in a way because like now a lot of people that I socialize with primarily are other comedians.
hmm
So
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Fucking great. So, what is one of your favorite bits? And also, after you've explained about it, it is bits of yours. I mean, bits you
okay,
wrote. And then once you've explained that, how did you come up with that bit?
let me see here. Um, let's see if I had to pick one and be able to explain how I came up with it. That was one of my favorite ones. I feel like it works somewhat consistently. I like the humor in it, all of that. Is a bit. It's a story about the time that I got a vasectomy.
hmm
Um, and I just in case the audience is out of the loop, I explained what a vasectomy is, and and it's based on a real story. So that's something that's really fun about it when you have an
hmm
experience like we are just saying and finding a way to incorporate that into a stand-up format.
hmm
I would. It's like they're talking about getting a vasectomy and the procedure of getting not going to. I had to go to this place and get on this table where The guy makes a small incision on each side of your scrotal sac, and he cuts out this little piece of tubing out of each one. It kind of looks like a macaroni noodle, same kind of size, same color, same flavor. And then you get out of the back of the guy's airbrushed van, and you go back lonely to your car. And there's people that were telling me, how I'd end up regretting that, especially the older generation. Like, you shouldn't get a vasectomy. As you grow older and live your life, you're gonna end up regretting that. Which, at first I was like, oh, but it turns out there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
There's going to be that something I'm missing out on. I feel like something, like two people is a life-changing moment. That it's a really intimate moment that two people get to share together, and I'm never gonna get to know what that feels like now. I'm never gonna get to know what it feels like to talk a woman into an abortion, and there are regrets. But
it's delightful. So how did you came up with that specifically? Because the basic structure happened to you. You actually went for a vasectomy. Now, were you thinking about that while you were having the procedure done?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, I was already into comedy at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been a part, like the second part to the story, that I've never been able to get to work out. And that's because if you get a vasectomy, after I forget how long, you have to go back and do like a test. They want to test your semen to see if see if it took. I don't know how it wouldn't, but
right.
And I had to drive several hours to get to the place to do this, and they give you this cup. I had this cup, and they're like, oh, bring it in warm, body temperature still. Well, that I didn't have a way of doing that because the drive was too long. So I just figured I'd go there with my little cup and be like, hey, can I borrow your bathroom? But they wouldn't let me do that. Like, there was no place to do it. So instead, it's like, this is down in the desert. I just had to park in my car next to a dumpster, and the sun's just beating down, and I'm in a parking lot, and just
you're about to get arrested any moment.
Right, and I'm actually trying to explain that away, like, while I'm just sweating.
Well, I gotta do it in my vehicle. This is where it's got to be warm. Like, I'm going to jail, aren't I?
Right. I figured my vehicle was better than a public restroom. I don't know. I was trying to be courteous. Like, just coming back to the front desk because they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, fuck, I'll be right back then. I take my car, I go to the car. I come back like 10 minutes later, just sweating profusely. I'm like, here you go, lady. Like,
I put a little extra in there for you. Good Lord. You've got to tell that story. That is so fucking funny, Don. Are you kidding me? Holy shit, that's great.
Yeah, I haven't figured out all the beats in it yet, really, I guess. I've tried a couple times, but it's never worked. But yeah, it's something I want to keep chipping away at.
You might be able to just tell the story on stage, just like you told it to me, and get hella laughs. Might be worth a shot. So let's see. I think I only have one more question for you, buddy, and it's kind of a fun one.
All right.
If you could have any superpower, including one you yourself invent, what would it be?
Let me see. Any superpower, including one I invent. Let's see. Yeah, that's a tricky one too. I don't want to go with anything too run of the mill here. It's something I think would be really useful. Well, fun and useful. Just the ability to win any argument. Is that a superpower?
Yeah.
Just to be able to convince anybody else that you're right.
Yeah. Here comes Don.
How satisfying would that be? My
Oh,
goodness.
so great. Even on the internet? Oh, are you kidding me? That's
Right, you can
amazing.
win any internet.
Every time you make a statement, just there's no more posts after it. Well, Don said it all. I don't know.
I mean,
That's good. I like that. Uh, Jesse Clark said the ability to always say the right thing, which is
oh
pretty
wow,
good.
that's similar.
Yeah, they are similar. It's kind of fortuitous, though, that both comedians and both you said something to do with speech. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right on. Well, those are my 20 questions, buddy. How did you like that? I hope it wasn't too awkward for you.
No, this was fun.
Good deal.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a part of it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of But the Damn Point Is, starring me, Germ Leather, and my guest today, Mr. Don Ashby.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for being here, buddy. And
absolutely.
now we're done with the recording. So great job, buddy.
Excellent. All right, man. Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
really fun.